Yo, this was a crazy week. Freaking Russians stole a whole bunch of Pixel 3 XLs. There are already reviews out there, the price is rumored to be out there, and there's a ton of turmoil at Google. Honestly, this makes the iPhone 4 leak look like nothing. Anyways, we're gonna talk about the leaks, the review, the price, all the drama that's going on, and my thoughts about everything. You're watching a special Google Pixel 3 XL edition of This is Tech This Week. This video is a bit of a doozy, but we'll jump into it right after this. Hey friends, this is Brennan from This is Tech Today, your source for honest tech reviews, how-tos, and the news, and you're watching This is Tech This Week, a weekly show in addition to my other content where I go over tech news that personally interests me. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon, or the Russians will steal all your Pixel 3 XLs, and your dog too.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too.
Geez, there are so many leaks, and we know that the phone's gonna come out on October 4th, as I broke the news on in one of my previous videos, which you can check out up here. But with all those leaks, what are the specs that we know of so far? Here are some specs and comparisons between the Pixel 3 XL and the 2 XL. With the memory, it looks like there's 4 GB of RAM instead of 6 GB, which many of you have mentioned in the comments how you're concerned about that, because some people are having some significant slowdowns on their Pixel 2 XLs. I haven't had any slowdowns, but I know some of you definitely have. In regards to the screen size, it is stated that it's 6.2 inches for those who have it in their hands, but some software tests are showing it as 6.7 inches. And of course, if you have a Pixel 3 XL in your possession, what do? Run a Geekbench test. The results were 2,426 for single core and 8,355 in multi-core, which is very close to the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, if not just a little bit under. Now, I personally don't think benchmark tests are really the end-all be-all. It really comes down to how well the software is optimized for the hardware. So there's that. It looks like Active Edge is still around, and I personally thought that this was a gimmick at first, but I use it all the time now. Wireless charging has been confirmed to work, as you see in this video here, and in addition to that, it appears that there will be some Google branded wireless chargers with Google Assistant built in. I find that a bit interesting because Google Assistant is already built into the phone, which sits on the stand itself. So why do you need Google Assistant on both? I guess we'll just have to wait until the announcement to find out. In terms of size, it's pretty much the same size as the current 2 XL, which means that it's close to the size of the Galaxy S9 Plus. And apparently the 3 XL could fit into a 2 XL case. While they're still front-facing stereo speakers, they're supposedly just okay. This is really a bummer to hear after all the issues we had from the 2 XL and because of how good the S9 Plus speakers are. And the phone will come with wired Pixel buds. Now let's talk about the camera. Based on the leaks that Mobile Review put out on the Pixel 3 XL, we have a ton of photo samples that we need to go through. If you want to check out the full review, there's a link down below in the description. Before we look through all the images, let's go over some specs. Supposedly, there is a better visual core chip. If you're not familiar with what the visual core chip is, it's essentially some hardware that allows third-party apps to have some of the processing that you find in the stock camera app. That means that apps like Instagram and Twitter will have similar results as the stock camera app. The front-facing cameras are 8 megapixels. As far as we can tell, there's no software or hardware that seems to point towards any sort of unique secure face unlocking option. Instead, the 2 cameras on the front appear to just be a normal lens and a wide-angle lens that helps create super selfies. Theoretically, this should create better portrait mode shots, like we can see here. I'd like to know what you think about that. The rear camera is 12.2 megapixels, which is still a single lens instead of multiple lenses like other phones. I like this because it allows me to use moment lenses on the Pixel devices and still have the same features like portrait mode. Camera app looks more like iOS, which has me a bit worried because I'm a bit disappointed in how much Google is taking inspiration from Apple. To be fair though, the app has needed more features, so this may be a good thing. Now for all the camera samples. Here's a bunch of the rear-facing cameras. Overall, it seems like everything looks pretty good. It does appear that there may be a bit more of an HDR type effect on things, so that's great if you're posting things straight to Instagram. If you're the type that edits their photos and prefers a more professional workflow like me, this may not edit as well as the Pixel 2 XL. And there's also a portrait mode shot that looks to be quite similar to before. When we compare the Pixel 3 XL to the Note 9 and the P20 Pro, we can see that the Pixel 3 XL opts for a more natural look, while the other 2 boost the saturation in each image. The Pixel 3 XL seems to expose a shot a bit better, where the other two seem to struggle with either overexposing or underexposing shots. This seems to come out a bit more in landscape or flower shots. And of course, we have to check out the video, which seems to be locked in at 30 frames per second in 4K. There's a 60 frames per second option at 1080p. I personally would love to have the option to record at 24 frames per second or 60 frames per second. What we can see is that stabilization looks pretty good, as it did on the 2XL. Interestingly enough, the 4K seems to be more saturated than the 1080p video. And after the terrible audio recording from the videos on Pixel 2 XLs, I was worried that the 3XL would have terrible sound as well. Unfortunately, the audio from this recording is so messed up that I can't reasonably make any fair comments on it. And speaking of fairness, there's still a bit of time for them to make adjustments to the software before launch. There's no way that the phone would launch with the audio squished into half of the time of the video itself. Wait, so how did I do a full camera review? How did all these leaks start? It's from the Russians, from Ukraine. Wouldn't that be Ukrainians? Oh man, there's some teacher out there saying, this is why you stay in school instead of doing the YouTubes. Anyways, a week or so ago, you could actually buy a Pixel 3 XL for $2,000 off of the Ukrainian black market. You could buy them over Telegram, and apparently the shipment was intended to go towards Google engineers. In fact, you can see the email addresses of some of the engineers that was intended to go to. According to a conversation that was had a few days ago, there are only 3 units left where you could pick up in London if you paid over PayPal or Bitcoin. And as one would expect, Google's legal and security teams, as well as Foxconn, the manufacturers of the phone, are investigating the situation. One thing that I'm really interested in is whether or not some YouTubers already have Pixel 3 XLs. But see, it wouldn't be smart to release a video about it right now because it's a felony in the United States to buy stolen goods, at least if it's known that it's stolen. So it would just be really unwise to post a video right now. But what will be interesting is how many videos will come out that are really comprehensive right at launch. Plus, I really don't think spending $2,000 on a phone that's going to come out in just a little bit over a month is a good use of money. But if you want to be wise about your money, you should try out Robinhood. I use the Robinhood app all the time to invest. It's a super easy way to get into trading stocks with 0 fees. You can even trade crypto for free. There's a link in the description, and if you sign up using that, they'll give you a stock for free. There's even a chance that you'll get a Facebook or Apple stock. That's sweet. So really, the biggest leak is the full-on review and the price, and I have some thoughts about the whole situation to kind of keep us level-headed. But let's talk about the price first. You see, the rumor is that the normal 3 version of the Pixel is going to go for $649, and then the 3XL will go for $749. That's a whole $100 less than the 2XL on launch day. So I'm curious, what do you think about that price point? Does that make you feel better about the notch and the specs? I do think that it is nice that it's going in the opposite direction than the Note 9 and the iPhone 10s. So mobilereview.com put out a full review of the Pixel 3 XL that they had. It went through a lot of things that we covered here in the video, but also showed you some of the software, which is pretty much the same as what you would expect to see on your Pixel 2 XL. Thankfully, they had a lot of good things to say about the screen, so it looks like that has improved a lot. I'm still betting that it's an LG display instead of a Samsung display. You see, Google invested billions into LG display, so you don't really do that and not use the displays. Overall, the review points aren't really the most interesting parts about all this. It's actually the parts at the end about the internal workings of Google. There's a lot of drama going on, and they're kind of in crisis mode. You see, Google acqui-hired a bunch of HTC engineers, and apparently there's a total of 7 different devices that they're working on. There's the Pixel 3, 3XL, a phone with a flexible display, and a prototype device that may be released in 2020. And in addition to that, there's 2 more generations of Pixel devices. Within each generation, there will be 2 different devices like we've seen so far. And if you're counting, that's actually 8 devices, but I'm just reporting on what was said. Keep in mind that companies typically are working on multiple devices at the same time, and not all of them will be released. But see, the most interesting part about all this is that there's an engineer within Google that's a bit disgruntled with how things are going with the Pixel division. Apparently from the reports, there is an engineer that's trying to move Google away from that Pixel division because there's been so many issues with the 1st and 2nd generation. So this employee leaking out all these devices and the ensuing negative response from it is really just confirming this employee's position that Google is doing the wrong thing. And because of this, maybe Google will change directions. Apparently that direction has to do with a new phone that has a different internal design and a new branding. So the Pixel branding would go away. So at the moment, the marketing department and the hardware department is making a lot of decisions, and so in a few weeks, they'll have to come to a conclusion. So here's the thing, I can't confirm any of this drama that's going on at Google, but it's really clear that there have been some hardware issues and quality issues with the previous generations of the Pixel devices. And on top of that, it just seems that Google hasn't really been themselves lately. You see, with the release of Android Pie and the 3XL, it just feels like they're trying to copy Apple. So maybe this internal turmoil is real, but I'd love to know your thoughts. Now let's bring some reason to everything. Yes, we know a lot of the specs and the software, but this is an unreleased device. Remember that Google is really a software company more than a hardware company, so there may be some surprises that we've yet to find out about. As we've seen with the 2XL, there have been additional features that have come out upon release and then many months afterwards, like the AR stickers. What I'm trying to say is making a final buying decision off of the leaks on the hardware and the reviews is maybe not the wisest choice. It's not even running its final software version, and a lot can happen in a month. In addition, it's been confirmed that this is a DVT or design validation test device. That means that engineers have received it and they're checking it out. And then after that, you have a PVT or a production validation test device. And then finally, a device that you, the consumer, would get. So there's a ton of comments out there saying that they shouldn't even have an event. They should just cancel it and send out an email. And I understand the sentiment, but there may be a lot of surprises there that we don't know about. So with that said, knowing the price, the specs that we do know, and the potential things that will launch alongside of it, like the Pixel Watch, what are your thoughts? Go ahead and leave some comments. And if you'd like to join the discussion on the This Is Tech Today Discord server, there's a link down below in the description. In this last segment, I want to share with you a video from another creator, big or small, and a podcast I personally listen to that you should check out. If you don't know who Dan Mace is, he's been a part of Casey Neistat's vlogs for a while this year, and his videos are just incredible. He has some really incredible editing, visual style, inspiration, and wisdom to share. His video this week was on how to make a film. It was personally really inspiring for me, so I had to share it with you. This is a super great video, even if you're not a person who makes videos. If you've ever wondered why certain ad banners, news headlines, or crazy YouTube thumbnails are the way they are, it has something to do with click-through rates, which is something that's talked about on this podcast called Data Skeptic. They cover high-level concepts in data science, so if you're in the tech field, you may like this.
Do you know what it signals to them?
What does what signal?
Having a high click-through rate.
Well, maybe the ad's working.
Well, it's attracting people, that's for sure, right? People are interested in that ad related to the search term.
Yeah, this may be super nerdy, but I like it. Whew, what an episode, but that's it. Make sure you check out my last video on why I'm not buying the Note 9 and why I think many of you won't buy it either. My thought is that Samsung screwed up something with their line of phones, but I'd love to know what you think. Go and leave a comment on that video. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon if you haven't already. Thanks for watching This Is Tech Today. You've watched This Is Tech this week, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and hey, have a great day.